I'm very excited to announce our next speaker. He is the Kentucky's 51st Attorney General, Mr. Daniel Cameron. Attorney General Cameron is the first African-American independently elected to statewide office in Kentucky's history, and the first Republican elected to the Attorney General's office since 1948. He is in charge of all the prosecutors, and he is truly, I truly consider him a friend. So I would like you to help me welcome Attorney General Cameron.
Well, thank you, Amy, for that kind introduction. And like Leader McConnell and Congressman Barr, I certainly want to extend my hearty congratulations to you as well on your selection as KACo president. Certainly well-deserved. You've been your entire career spent in public service, and just honored to be here to share this podium with you and the stage. I know that your counsel has been beneficial to Judge Buchanan, and I know it will be to Judge-elect Gorman as well. So grateful for your friendship and the way that you'll serve during this term. And I also want to say just a very brief, I guess congratulations probably is in order too to Phil Sammons as well for his tenure as president over this past year, and grateful for the way that he served and stood up during the test of this past term. So God bless you, my friend, and certainly well done. And to all of you all that sit before me right now, I want to thank you for the way that you have served your communities and your counties as public officials. It can certainly be a thankless job, and the cost of leadership can be high. And whether it's tornadoes in West Kentucky or floods, once in a generation flooding in eastern Kentucky, every day can present a unique challenge. So I thank you for persevering, demonstrating servant leadership, and representing the values of the men, women, and children in your respective counties. And also, on a little bit of a somber note, I want to make sure that we remember Judge Malone and his family and the passing of his wife. Obviously, just devastating what happened in Rowan County. So if you can keep Carter County and the county surrounding Carter County in your prayers, as I know you are, I certainly think that is appropriate. And Jim, you know that county judges and our county officials are the lifebloods of our communities. And so it's hard when something like this happens, but did just want to note that briefly. Now moving on, a lot has certainly changed since the last time I spoke to you. A year ago, Adair County native Barry Dunn was my Deputy Attorney General. He's since moved on as the president of KACo Charities now. Vic Maddox is serving in that role, and I hope that some of you all have had an opportunity to talk to Vic Maddox. Also have my Chief of Staff, Carmine Icarino, who is here with me as well. So those are some changes that have occurred over the last year. A year ago, Mackenzie was just pregnant, and now we have a 10-month-old at home, Theodore, who is the joy of our lives. And a year ago, the Kentucky Attorney General's office did not have an office west of Louisville, Kentucky. And come Monday, we're going to be opening up an office in Bowling Green. And so we are very excited to be doing that on Monday. And there have been other changes as well. But one thing that has been consistent is our unwavering commitment to the defense of your freedoms, to the defense of your values, and to the security of our families and our communities. Last summer, my office announced a $478 million settlement with 4 of the world's largest opioid companies. That settlement, the second largest in the country's history, happened because a lot of you in this room stepped up to the plate and helped us get this deal over the finish line. I remember sitting in rooms with Jim Henderson and Reagan Taylor, and Gary Moore and Stacy Tapke, and Martin Hatfield, all that were invested in making sure that we did everything we possibly could to maximize the dollars that came into Kentucky to end this opioid epidemic. No one in those rooms cared who got the credit. Every official had the same motive, securing every dollar possible, and that's what we achieved. But I tell you that there is certainly more work to be done. That $478 million marks a turning point in the opioid epidemic, but the battle is not over. The data shows that it's far from over. From April 2020 to April 2021, in the United States, we lost an estimated 101,167 Americans to drug overdose. It was the first time in our nation's history that estimated overdose deaths exceeded 100,000 for any 12-month period. And the numbers keep rising, with the likely toll around 108,000 for the 12-month period beginning between May 2021 and May 2022. In Kentucky, in 2021 alone, we lost 2,250 Kentuckians to drug-related overdoses. Opioids contributed to 90% of these deaths, and fentanyl was detected in more than 70% of them. And you all are no doubt familiar with fentanyl, but its potency cannot be overstated. Fentanyl is 50 times more potent than heroin and 50 to 100 times more potent than morphine. The DEA reports that just 2 milligrams can cause a lethal overdose. To put that in perspective, 1 teaspoon of fentanyl contains about 5,000 milligrams. Think about that. Just 1 teaspoon contains 2,500 lethal doses. In July alone, United States Customs and Border Protection seized over 2,100 pounds of fentanyl. That is enough to kill nearly 3 times the population of the United States. And that's just the amount that was seized. Yet today, around 1/3 of all illicit pills are laced with fentanyl, meaning users oftentimes have no idea that they are consuming this poison. And because of these startling facts, I recently urged the Biden administration to classify fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction. Recognizing fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction would unleash greater resources and information sharing, all of which could save lives. But unfortunately, as of today, the administration has still not heeded that recommendation. I hope President Biden and the administration will change course because too many lives are at stake. In August 2020, a young man took what he thought was a Xanax, a drug he had a prescription for. The pill turned out to be fake, deceptively designed to mimic a prescription Xanax. The pill's fentanyl content ultimately killed him. He was 23 years old. In March 2021, a little boy accidentally consumed fentanyl that he found in his mother's purse. He died that same day. He was 2 years old. And earlier this year, a girl died in an apartment complex in Louisville. The cause of death? Fentanyl poison. She was 6 years old. Every story I shared represents a life unfinished, promises unfulfilled, and potential unrealized. Stories like these are why we continue to pursue and to push those companies who exacerbated the crisis to come to the table and help make things right and break the cycles of addiction. We are pursuing lawsuits against CVS, Walgreens, Teva Pharmaceuticals, Allergan, and Endo Pharmaceutical. We are currently evaluating and considering proposed settlements in each of those cases. We also plan to consider a proposed settlement from Walmart, which was announced on Tuesday. And we've asserted a claim against Purdue Pharma in its bankruptcy case in New York. There, we expect to recover substantially more than the $24 million we secured in 2015. So regardless of whether these disputes resolve themselves now or in the future, the outcome is clear. We're going to be bringing to the table hundreds of millions in additional dollars. And my hope is that when all is said and done, we will be on our way to $1 billion in total recovery. And that will be a real down payment on the healing process. And as money flows into the Commonwealth, I'm confident that the Kentucky Opioid Abatement Advisory Commission, headed by my good friend Brian Hubbard, will ensure that the money is used wisely and effectively. Now, some of you already know Brian, and I count you as a lucky person, but later today, you're going to have an opportunity to hear from him about some of the work that the Commission is doing. He is a tremendous man, and his passion for this issue in particular is unmistakable. Now, as chairman of the Commission, Brian leads an 11-member team that includes stakeholders from the prevention and treatment community, law enforcement, and the victims of the opioid crisis. The Commission will administer the Commonwealth's portion of the opioid settlement and will help further statewide abatement efforts. Now, the Commission has held 4 regular meetings and hosted 7 town halls in communities across Kentucky. A meeting in Frankfort, a town hall in Paducah, and a town hall in Louisville remain. All are open to the public. In the meantime, I want to encourage you to give serious thought to how those settlement dollars can be best utilized in your counties and our Commonwealth. What programs are needed? What groups can we come alongside and assist in the important work that they are already doing? How can we invest in innovative approaches while supplementing the recovery already occurring in your communities? The road to curbing the drug epidemic won't be easy, but we are committed to staying the course. The health of our workforce depends on it, the safety of our communities depends on it, and Kentucky's future depends on it. Now, Kentucky's future also depends on the continued viability of our coal industry. The Biden administration and hedge fund managers in New York have shown open hostility to fossil fuels in our way of life. The new battlefront has shifted, presented itself in form of what's called the Environmental Social Governance Movement, otherwise known as the ESG movement. At its core, ESG advocates, along with their enablers in Washington, D.C., seek to destroy the fossil fuel industry by precluding the free flow of capital and investment in these companies. And what makes it worse is that ESG advocates don't use their money for their climate virtue signaling. They use your money. They use the pension plans of teachers, firefighters, and police officers as leverage to get energy companies to yield to their vision of a future without coal. They do this even though they know renewables are not profitable as an investment strategy and ultimately reduce the rate of return to the pension retiree. They do it because they don't care, and the ends justify the means. Such callousness would destroy Kentucky's economy. We are the 7th biggest producer of coal in the country, and we have the 12th lowest energy cost in the nation. For anybody who cares about the fiscal health of the Commonwealth, stopping the ESG movement is paramount. That's why earlier this year, I released the first Attorney General opinion in the nation on ESG investment practices. That opinion concludes that ESG-driven investing undermines our country's energy independence, and it is incompatible with the fiduciary responsibility of our trustees here under Kentucky law. Put another way, Kentucky law says that politics should have no place in Kentucky's pensions. And we've not stopped there. I followed that up with the state's public pension authority and teachers' retirement system seeking proof that ESG considerations are not being implemented in their investment decisions. And I've launched an investigation into the Net Zero Banking Alliance, which includes banks such as Citigroup, J.P. Morgan Chase, and Bank of America for potential antitrust violations intended to preclude fossil fuel companies from accessing credit and capital. Each of these actions have been driven by a desire to defend our coal industry and protect the pensions of our hardworking public servants. Finally, I want to close on a note as the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the Commonwealth. We know that every day men and women in our counties get up and wear the badge, and they don the uniform, even though they face unprecedented challenges and open hostility. Our brave men and women of the thin blue and gray lines need our continued support and our continued encouragement and our continued prayers. They wear a uniform that makes them a target, and every day they leave their homes and families to protect and serve others. Every day they choose to be an everyday hero. I'm reminded as I went to the funerals for some of the officers who lost their lives in Floyd County, that one of the pastors that gave a eulogy at one of the officers' memorials said, "Extraordinary mountain boys did some extraordinary things." And I think that can be true and well said of all of our law enforcement across Kentucky. Every day, ordinary citizens decide to do extraordinary things. But they need our help. They need our encouragement. They need our support. The National Law Enforcement Officer Memorial Fund recognized that there were 458 officer fatalities last year. This is a 55% increase from the previous year and the highest total line of duty deaths since 1930. As of October 31, the National Fraternal Order of Police reports that there have been 71 ambush-style attacks on law enforcement officers in 2022. And last summer, we lost one of our own, Brandon Shirley, who was fatally shot in an ambush in Louisville. Officer Shirley was targeted, shot, and killed simply because he wore the uniform. And this summer, like I mentioned, we lost 3 officers in Floyd County. We lost Deputy Jody Cash in Western Kentucky. So you can see why, in many places, recruitment and retention of officers is down. As of June, Louisville was down nearly 300 officers. Last year, Lexington, where we sit now, reported being down roughly 100 officers. And as of this spring, the Kentucky State Police was around 150 troopers short of the agency's sworn strength in 2006. It will be difficult to recruit and retain law enforcement so long as we allow those that intend to demean and defund our police continue to have the loudest voices. Those of you that are in this room make up a larger share and a more substantive share of our Commonwealth of Kentucky, and we need to do everything we can to support our men and women of the law enforcement community. I leave you with that. I appreciate the opportunity to share just a few things with you. May God bless you, and may God bless the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Thank you so much.